Hey y'all, it's Dark Sugar Podcast coming to you fresh out the packet with everything black. Dark Sugar. Hey y'all, welcome to Dark Sugar Podcast. It is a lovely fall day. We are in October. We are in the prime time here in Phoenix, Arizona. Weather is beautiful. It's cooled down. I'm in a better mood. I'm hot and cranky over the summer. I'm sweaty, but hope you guys are doing good. It's been a minute. I've had a job change, a lot of good changes going on, so I've had to delay this episode for a minute. But this episode on Black Feminism, I'm not gonna make this hold me to this. This is not gonna be a long episode because I really had a lot of amazing Black women guests on my podcast the last couple of months during this topic. I had Naya Minga, the mental health activist, and she's just coming out with her new book, The Sister's Self, and it's accompanied by a workbook. I had Miss Red from the Red Room, pro-sex, pro-love, self-love, lingerie, enthusiast, an entrepreneur on the show. I had my cousin who is a poet and an advocate, for family mental health and open communication with family when it comes to mental health. And she came on and shared her poems in her new poetry book, which changes of life's changes. I'm gonna get the title right, but the link is in my bio to her book. And it was really hard for me to come on here and talk about Black feminism because I'm like, oh my god, it has so many components, it has so many layers, and I guess the only thing I can really speak on is my experience with Black feminism and what Black feminism means to me. And I always knew that growing up that Black women, we were definitely in our own sect in terms of where we kind of fell into society and where our place was. I knew that we were under men in terms of like societal placement, but it always felt like my Blackness kind of made me invisible and like very visible at the same time. In certain situations, I felt like people really can't see me. And then at the same time, in situations, I felt like the fact that I was a Black woman was nothing, there was nothing else that they could see. And it was really weird and strange to me, from being in medical settings where, I felt really invisible in medical settings. My voice isn't heard, not taking me seriously. Oh, it doesn't hurt that bad. Oh, I'm sure it's just this. Go home, you'll be fine type of thing. Two settings where I'm really just trying to mind my business in stores, out and about, in clubs with men. And I just feel like they're attacking my Blackness and my femininity. Excuse me, smoke cough, not COVID cough. But, in college, learning about Black feminism, I think it was in my women and gender studies class, is when, we hunkered down and started talking about it. And I think we started talking about it in terms of sexuality and Black women's autonomy over their bodies. And I had never really thought about it before. But, being a young Black woman with a curvy body, wanting to, dress however I want to dress and, be comfortable, I always felt like I was subjected to be sexualized when I didn't want to be. It just felt like I was being pinned against the wall. Like no matter what I did, something negative was being said about me. Whether I'm covered up, whether my body's a little exposed, it felt like I couldn't really win and I didn't have a voice over myself, over my own body, over my own being. People making decisions for me about how I think about myself. So, it's very hard. We speak about Black women being sexualized at a very young age, and Miss Red and I spoke from the Red Room, we spoke about this. Two, our experiences being sexualized as young women, even by male family members, female family members making comments. So even at a young age, they're assigning, you know, like, yes, women are sexual beings, but that's all that I am at such a young age. You know, yes, let's talk about sex, but like, teach me about sex, healthy ways to, you know, have control over my body, healthy ways to say no and feel comfortable and have safe sex and healthy sex. And, you know, that wasn't the conversation. It was, oh, you filled out, or, ooh, she gonna be trouble, or something, you know, not helpful comments. And, you know, that was a really conversation that Miss Red and I had. I love diving into that. That's something that, you know, is very prevalent in the Black community that we don't get to talk about all the time. And that's the thing. It's Black men also giving direction on what's happening. I see so many posts where it's like Black men and they're like, oh, a woman who does this thinks this, and therefore I don't like her because of this and this. And I'm just like, really? Okay, like, who says you? Who gives you all this power? Like, I didn't know you're the end all be all. Tell me something. And, you know, it's just really weird. And for me growing up, I definitely looked for approval, validation from Black men, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it. A lot of Black women don't get it. And if you do get it, you're very blessed and lucky, and it's amazing. But I didn't get it. So when I was denied, or I felt rejected or denied in high school and college by these Black men who are dealing with their own self-hate and they're expressing it towards me and my Blackness, that was so hurtful to be rejected by Black men. And I do speak about, you know, interracial relationships and how, you know, Black women actually don't care. We just don't like when whoever you do date is attached to why you don't date us. My voice is tripping, y'all. Sorry. When it's tied to why you don't date us, that's when it's not okay. That's when we really don't like it. We don't appreciate it. It's not helpful. You know, because love who you love. It's beautiful, but you should fall in love with whoever you're in love with because they make you happy and blah, 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 blah. Not because they're not a Black woman. You know, and if that is the reason, it's disgusting. I think it's gross. A lot of self-hate there. Unpack it, but shut the fuck up about me. You know, and I'm very passionate about it. I'm very, you know, I've called out family members. It's a thing that, you know, a lot of Black women face and experience. And, you know, it's like I said, it's so many layers. It's so deep. There's so many different ways to go about it. It's a whole episode in itself, but I'm gonna move on. We also talk about Black trans women within Black feminism. Black trans women have been left out of the conversation, denied the conversation, moved out of the space for a very long time. I try to listen as much as possible. That's why, you know, I post about a lot of things. I do post about trans rights on my podcast. I post about, you know, advocacy for like other ethnicities and different things like that. But I recognize my place and I am an ally. And as an ally, I recognize that there are some things that I just don't understand. I am 100% for, but I'm not going to act like I understand what it's like to be a trans person. Therefore, any like, I don't understand thoughts that I have, I'm like not really diving that deep, because my job is to learn as much as possible I can about the trans community and see where I can give space and move to the side and support, kind of like lift up underneath and raise trans voices. But, you know, there's a lot of homophobia there. There's this weird notion that I heard of like Black women being threatened. Like, it's like, oh, they're not real women. They're trying to be like us. They can't be like us type of thing, which I don't really get that. I'm like, what? It's not like we're a club. Like, what the fuck? I don't know. I think that's weird. It's not like we're an exclusive club. But homophobia is so prevalent, and obviously a lot of Black men, their homophobia is triggered with their masculinity. So, a trans woman is almost like the ultimate threat, or the ultimate, I don't want to say like nightmare, but if you're like a homophobic, patriarchal, asshole, a Black trans woman is going to trigger you and going to bring up all this stuff that you need to deal with and unpack and work through. And, it's just really unfortunate. I've gotten into so many nitty gritty debates where I don't have answers for things. If you're going to come at me with, a debate or a question, I don't have all the answers. I just know that trans women need to be respected and need space, and that Black feminism needs trans rights and needs to advocate for Black trans women. Because because Black trans women on the social ladder are at the bottom, right? So if we're not advocating for our lowest, then who are we? To me, that's how I feel. So everyone's included. This is not an exclusive club. Here's a jacket. Come on in. Like, I don't know. It's just the homophobia and transphobia. Because I can admit I've had to unpack, and I'm still working through my own transphobia, like clocking trans women, me not thinking someone's trans if they don't look quote unquote trans, quote unquote, or I will like discount a trans person's identity if they don't pass. And I will do that like subconsciously without even knowing it. And I'll have to check myself like, whoa, who am I? And so I can admit that I do that, and I have to work on that. But yeah, it's so deep, the homophobia in the Black community. It's very, a part of it is built on religious circumstance, and some of it is, a lot of it is religious, and a lot of it is the masculinity. I've noticed that being gay in a lot of cultures, being queer, trans, in a lot of cultures where masculinity, toxic masculinity, whatever you want to call it, generational trauma, it's all tied in, and it's very heavy. The more usually threatening it is to have it to be trans or to be queer, I've noticed. So that's definitely something, I always say Black feminism needs trans rights. And Black women, we're tired of, and I think that 2021 is the year of Black women like being called strong. And even the word resilient, even though we are just resilient, guys, like that's just what we are because we're still here. But we're tired of being strong. We're tired of being that one that you can always depend on, because Black women need to back up, and we need to start taking care of ourselves. And we do have a lot of responsibility, so sometimes like easier said than done, but it's like society needs to stop expecting so much from us, because we're not going to give it anymore. We're not giving 150% anymore. We want to give you 50%, really, and leave, or actually 40, and leave like most for us. We've sacrificed so much. We're praised for overdoing it. You want an independent woman who's on her own if you're on your own and you're independent in every way, shape, or form, congratulations. I am working my way there, because if a man wants to clock me for not being independent right now, he can keep on walking, because I still live with my mom. I'm not independent completely, and it's very hard to be independent in this economy, in this society. So a lot of Black women, like, if you can have your own and hold your own, it feels good. So that is the goal. But at the same time, like, don't beat yourself up and don't judge and don't devalue us if we're, financially dependent or don't have every single aspect of everything on our own. Because I feel like, and I saw this quote somewhere that said, like, why is it that Black women, it feels like we're the only race called or praised to be independent and strong, to be like hyper independent. not need anybody, even when we do need help. And that's the thing. And Black women, there is this Black feminism perfectly, the way it encompasses and how we feel on the daily, I think, is this episode of Blackish where Bo and the girls from Girlfriends, like all the cast of Girlfriends was in this episode. And Bo was in this political women's group, feminist group or something. And they were all white women. And Bo noticed that like anytime they were bringing up a concern or an issue or something, they were only talking about how it affected white women. And they're like, oh my God, when we couldn't vote, it was so terrible. Yeah, it was the worst thing ever. This was the worst thing to happen in our history. And Bo was like, what about slavery? Like, what about Black women? We couldn't vote for like years after you guys. Like, what about that? And so, that's why, and it just shows really how we're on different realities and different spectrums. And Black feminism is looking at feminism through just including Black women. That's all it is. It's feminism making sure that we're including all aspects of Black women and that we're not being left out of traditional feminism, which we are. Because I remember when the feminist movement for us and our generation really started popping off when I was in college, and even a little before then, I just felt like so disconnected. I really barely identified with almost any issue that they brought up. Not that it didn't affect me, but it was just like way down on my list. Like, it was weird. Like, the things that I was worried about weren't on their list, and the things that they were worried about weren't on my list, even though we're both women. Because I'm sorry, me not shaving or body hair, that's not on my list. Like, I'm for it, but that's just like not on my list of priorities to worry about. I'm worried about how when I go to the doctor, if the doctor will believe me when I tell him, hey, these are my symptoms, and he won't just send me home like he does to many of my family or friends. And has been done to me even before. But I know I know white women that like never have to think about that or never have. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing as being the difference between being a man and a woman. It's like even more exemplified during race. Like, men don't think about looking behind their shoulder when they're walking down the street. Okay. So then there are things that white women don't have to worry about that Black women do have to worry about. And we are left out a lot because you think we're all women, we have the same issues, and it's like we have similar issues, but Black women have like these extra issues that come with being Black that you don't get if you're a white woman. And so we just, like I said, like I've been pushing in every episode, we need more compassion. We need more active listening ears, because Black women want to be free to be themselves. We don't want to be judged for how we dress. We don't want to be judged for if we want a family or not, or if we want kids or not. If you're an entrepreneur and if you're holding everything down on your own, that is incredible. And if you're not any less. Like, as a Black woman, I feel like my value is just like on this tightrope. I'm just like on this balancing act, and one thing I do or don't do makes me less or more, depending on the situation. And I can feel it a lot of the times. I can feel my value in certain spaces. I can feel how people are reacting to me and how they're reacting to my Blackness and me being a woman. And it's really, just as multifaceted and complicated I am, that's how complicated feminism is as a whole. There are many different aspects, and we just need to listen to Black women and believe them. Listen and believe Black women. There's a reason we have ears and brains and, things. It's to listen and comprehend what other people are saying and to take a second and, what's the point of the conversation if you're not listening to what I'm saying? If you want to hear yourself go into the bathroom and hear and just talk to yourself or something, I can't tell you how many times I've been telling somebody my experience as a Black woman and I feel like they're talking over me. They're trying to prove something to me. I can tell immediately they're trying to talk me out of what I'm thinking or I'm saying. They just can't believe it's so different for me, but it is. It is really different. Yes. And Black women talking about their experiences. They're not being victims. I'm not being a victim. I'm just talking. I'm still living my life. I still clock into work every day. I have responsibilities. I have goals that I'm accomplishing and killing and doing. And on top of that, I'm saying this shit is not fair. And, and we have numbers. Look at the stats, look at the Department of Labor, look at the whoever the statistics come from, but look them up for the how much Black women make to $1. Is it 63 cents? Actually, that sounds kind of high. It might be 63. Is that a white woman? Is it a white woman that's 63? I should have looked this up, but it's okay. But look it up on your own. I should make posts about it myself as well. But look up the difference. There's proof, Black women dying faster, Black women, is it breast cancer or I think it's cervical cancer. Black women die from cervical cancer, is it more often? And it's not because we're more genetically inclined to cervical cancer. It's because, the accessibility. So some of these statistics that you do hear, like Black women are more likely to this. Some of them I'm like, oh, that must be biological. I just automatically think, oh, that's biological. We must be more susceptible. No, half the time it's because we don't go to the doctor fast enough. The resources, the insurance, the this, the that. If we're all the same, why do we have these disparities? I'm sorry. If we are all the same, why do we have these big gaps between white people and Black people? That's just me. So Black feminism is looking at things specifically, looking at feminism through our lens. And we don't need to be affirmed by anyone else. We just need the space. So listen to Black women and believe them.